for now, let's turn to some RNC speeches. I mean, like, we pretty much just covered like the whole theme of the night. There's not too many layers to the RNC. Unlike the DNC, I think had multiple layers to it. So like we spent a lot of time, covering that.
A lot of RNC today will just be entertainment.
Yeah, and that was the main reason why I wanted to have like that watch party, because I mean, like, the DNC was painful to watch, in the sense that, you know, like these people are supposed to like represent our side of the spectrum nominally, more or less.
Yeah.
Whereas, so like, it was painful to watch them just constantly miss the mark. But you know, the RNC, I mean, we don't really expect much from them. So like, we were just tuning in for the entertainment. But there is some level of pain involved in watching that. I don't know, like and the interesting thing about the speeches, like they ranged from just absolutely boring, you know, like from Mike Pence's speech, you know, that was just too boring. Melania's speech, like, she looked like a robot that was pumped out of the same factory that made Mark Zuckerberg. And so it's like,
a lot of it worked. I mean, they did have some pretty decent speakers like Tim Scott. But overall,
like, even like with Tim Scott. Well, like with Tim Scott, like I did not really like his speech at all, but I will say that he was one of the very few speakers that didn't make me want to shoot myself in the face.
Yeah.
Or just make me want to fall asleep. But yeah, like the RNC speeches range from very boring to batshit crazy.
Yes.
But yeah, like, we're gonna get into a couple of those. Like, this was a meme, kind of like, after the first night. I'm pretty sure most people have already seen it, but this is Kimberly Guilfoyle, a former Fox News host, I think, but she's also Don Jr.'s new girlfriend that he's been dating for like a year or so. So yeah, I said new, but I don't know. But she's his girlfriend.
America, I'm Kimberly Guilfoyle. I speak to you tonight as a mother, a former prosecutor, a Latina, and a proud American. And yes, a proud supporter of President Donald J. Trump. As a first-generation American, I know how dangerous their socialist agenda is. My mother, Mercedes, was a special education teacher from Aguadilla, Puerto Rico. My father, also an immigrant, came to this nation in pursuit of the American dream. Now, I consider it my duty to fight to protect that dream. Rioters must not be allowed to destroy our cities. Human sex drug traffickers should not be allowed to cross our border. The same socialist policies which destroyed places like Cuba and Venezuela must not take root in our cities and our schools. America, it's all on the line. President Trump believes in you. He emancipates and lifts you up to live your American dream. You are capable. You are qualified, you are powerful, and you have the ability to choose your life and determine your destiny. Don't let the Democrats take you for granted. Don't let them step on you. Don't let them destroy your families, your lives, and your future. Don't let them kill future generations because they told you and brainwashed you and fed you lies that you weren't good enough. Like my parents, you can achieve your American dream. You can be that shining example to the world. Manifest and be the change in this country that you dream, that you hope, that you believe in. Stand for an American president who is fearless, who believes in you, and who loves this country and will fight for her. President Trump is the leader who will rebuild the promise of America and ensure that every citizen can realize their American dream. Ladies and gentlemen, leaders and fighters for freedom and liberty and the American dream, the best is yet to come.
Wow.
Yeah, very misleading, fiery speech.
Yeah, and that was another, like, she invoked her Latina heritage, and that was another big thing with the RNCs. They really were trying to like make the lineup of speakers more diverse. I think that more or less just comes out of kind of trying to
Identity
overcompensate.
politics.
Like they're trying to like have identity politics involved because they're trying to overcompensate for Trump's less than ideal response to the social unrest of the last few months. So and we kind of, and we're going to talk about another thing involving identity politics later. We've sniped at the Democrats for trying to focus way too much on identity politics rather than policy that will actually help minorities and communities of color. So, but man, like she seemed like she was hyped up on something, and that will make more sense like after we see I have a video of highlights of Don Jr.'s speech, and take a close look at his eyes.
Courtesy of the Chinese Communist Party, the virus struck. The president quickly took action and shut down travel from China. Joe Biden and his Democrat allies called my father a racist and a xenophobe for doing it. They put political correctness ahead of the safety and security of the American people. But Biden's radical left-wing policies would stop our economic recovery cold. He's already talking about shutting the country down again. It's madness. Beijing Biden is so weak on China that the intelligence community recently assessed that the Chinese Communist Party favors Biden. They know he'll weaken us both economically and on a world stage. Biden has promised to take that money back out of your pocket and keep it in the swamp. That makes sense, though, considering Joe Biden is basically the Loch Ness Monster of the swamp. For the past half-century, he's been lurking around in there. He sticks his head up every now and then to run for president. Then he disappears and doesn't do much in between. Joe Biden and the radical left are now coming for our freedom of speech. They want to bully us into submission. If they get their way, it will no longer be the silent majority. It will be the silenced majority. It's almost like this election is shaping up to be church, work, and school versus rioting, looting, and vandalism. Or, in the words of Biden and the Democrats, peaceful protesting.
Well,
wow. That was just very logically incoherent.
Yeah, like on top of like everything that he said was being absolute bullshit. Like, did you look at his eyes?
Yeah, they were so blank,
Like,
and it looked like and it looks like he was allegedly maybe had drugs in his system. Because from my experience, when I've worked on jobs, people who have came to work high have had eyes like that.
yeah, like, and it seems like both he and his girlfriend were doing drugs backstage. I mean, we're not really like actually making any accusations. We're just more or less joking about the prospect of it. Like Kyle Kalinske tweeted a picture of this like Kermit puppet snorting lines. And said like Don Jr. backstage at the RNC, and then Don Jr. actually quoted that tweet and said, "Ooh, you must be confusing me for Hunter Biden." I mean, like, I'm sure Hunter Biden, I know Hunter Biden was kicked out of the Navy for cocaine use.
Yeah. But
I don't think Don Jr. realized, basically what Don Jr.'s argument was, no you. And apparently he doesn't know that, more than one crackhead can exist at one time. Or cokehead. Sorry, like I know the two aren't the exact same. But
it's just funny.
But yeah, like
we keep points of his, like the one of really ignorant points of his speech where he like talks about, quote, tries to correlate going to work, church, and school to riots, looting, even though, and then correlates that to peaceful protesters when those are two opposite things. And many of the people who are protesting about racial inequality in America.
Yeah.
And the fact is that there is not an equal, and fact is when he talks about especially work and school, many of those places are not equal opportunity.
Yeah. Overall, like it was you with both of those speeches that we just saw, you do see a lot of that, a lot of those fear mongering elements that we had talked about that were really just kind of like a long running theme with the rest of the RNC, talking about the radical left, how Joe Biden is now under control of the radical left, that Joe Biden himself is of the radical left, and anyone like it shows. It just kind of shows their complete lack of understanding of left politics. It's like, and I've talked to a couple of conservative people, who, like, I put on my Instagram story basically, like, if you actually think that Joe Biden is somehow a puppet of the radical left, and the same kind of goes to you people who think that he's actually going to be like a vehicle for progressive change, you all have no idea what you're talking about. And that's pretty. And someone replied to me, is like, oh yeah, he, like, you really, have you seen him speak? Obviously he's a puppet to somebody. It's just like I mean, like, maybe a puppet of the establishment, maybe, but not of the far left. Like,
no, like, absolutely not. Like, his policies aren't even that far left. They're more so centrist.
He's a moderate Republican, and that was a very that was proven very thoroughly with the lineup of speakers that the DNC had last week.
Yeah, they're more so like the New Deal Republicans that they're not Republicans in a sense, but they're Democrats, but have some conservative values. But they're more so kind of like modern day Republicans that will acknowledge systemic inequalities.
Yeah. Theoretically, what I think a moderate Dem should be like is Ed Markey, who's a senator from Massachusetts. Like, that's ideally that's who the ideal, like, moderate Dem could be. Like, you're a little bit more moderate than I am. I think, like, you are ideally like a like what a moderate Dem should be. But, like, even you're considered like pretty radical compared to like Steny Hoyer, who's like in this climate a moderate Democrat. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely.
And even then, like, the conservatives try to like tell us, like, Biden is like like a puppet of the left, like they know everything about left politics. But wouldn't you think that, me, like, I said this to my friend who was talking to me about it. It's like, wouldn't you think that me, like, as someone who's actually a left winger, do you think that I would, like, have you ever considered the fact that me as a left winger would have a better idea of what left politics is like compared to you being a conservative?
Exactly. It's like saying that, oh, they don't like it. They don't like being compared to the alt-right. So why are you going to compare the far left to the whole Democratic Party?
Yeah. And it's kind of like the political equivalent of mansplaining.
Yeah.
In a way.